Okay, this is the next to the last. So Hari, it might just be you and me tomorrow morning. Might be. We'll see if Hari joins us. Yeah, we'll see.
Hari, would you
We'll
like
see. God willing. It began that way. Except you were in a different form then, Hari. Oh. Yeah, you just keep changing forms and names. Come on. So what we'll do today is we'll complete the reading, and we're on chapter 10, which is the metaphysics of thought power. And then tomorrow morning we'll share the promised 15 techniques, summary of 15 techniques to change thought, to uplift the mind. So. That is, if you have an assignment by tomorrow morning.
Oh, no, I'll tune into that one. I'll hear more.
Okay. Oh. All right. So the metaphysics of thought power. Thought power and practical idealism. He says, man goes from bad to worse in the scale of life. He does not put his total strength in fit action, so he does not have the richest return of wisdom. Man is tormented by imperfections. Grudges are foaming in his mind because his life is not flowing with right energy. The love of me is ever ready to accuse the other party. Objects of the objective world are delicious torments for him. Still, the man wants to stand on the firm basis of personal feelings. Torn by his personal passions, and I can change the pronoun here, she is unable to establish proper and harmonious relations with others. She is always seeking her private felicity in every circumstance.
What does that word mean, felicity?
Pleasing.
Oh.
Yeah. Will, wishes, like that. Wanting to be pleased. Wanting to be prostrated to. Do we catch what's being shared? I asked the question once about, as we were starting to wake up with the process, we asked about death, and we got an interesting, this whole karma and limited birth, limited time and all of that. And actually, if we look, if we keep going the same way as we had started out, which is if we continue to be interested in the sense pleasures and we continue to place happiness outside, all right, it doesn't get better, it keeps getting worse. I had the idea, for example, we can say sex drive for men or women, whatever, which is not, and please forgive, people will say it's entirely natural, but actually what we as humans are experiencing is not natural, because for us it's all about pleasure, pain, and for us, generally speaking, in this time, just in this time, then sex is about pleasure. It's not about procreation. For the animals, it's procreation. For the animals, it's completely natural, and this is required in order to maintain the species. And so it's a part of the natural order, the natural plan. But in the human, our pleasure seeking, which is a seeking after happiness in the wrong place, our pleasure seeking has come to a fever pitch where it's not in the animals. And so we have this greater faculty of the intellect. And so we're able to be much more creative in terms of where to find the pleasure and how to avoid the pain. Than the animals are. They certainly have intellect, and they have the capacity to work things out, to learn over time, to learn new behaviors, etc. We see it with the monkeys, we see it with the deer. My goodness, we see it with the javelinas. They get in a fence, they go, and then one day it changes and they keep trying to go, but then they learn, okay, this is not it. And so It's there, and that function is working in the human. But the human has this craftiness in the intellect, which serves when we come to spiritual path, because with this advanced intellect, with this particular faculty of viveka, it's possible to ask the question, who am I? And to actually work it out through intellect. But until then, until it comes to intentional life, we are advanced in our pleasure seeking and avoidance of pain. Do you have something? You're off. Okay. Long time will come, dear one. Blessings. Let us know your update, okay? Okay.
It's not 100%, but 99.
Okay.
They got the green lights.
Okay, very good. Very good. It's been wonderful having you with us. Yeah. Timing seems perfect.
Yeah.
Seems absolutely perfect. Some of our family joining us online have commented about having Gopala back. So noted. So grateful.
I'm happy to have served.
Oh, yes, you are. I can tell. Bless you, dear.
Still going to serve.
So on this drive, this pleasure seeking related to sex, I had the idea as a younger person, younger in the experience of this, I had the idea that would wear off after time. But the experience is actually, it's not related to the physical age. It's not related to the appearance of the body. It's not related to any of that. So the more we endeavor to satisfy anything, the stronger the urge becomes. It's not as I thought it would be. And as frankly, most of us think it is. Most of us still hold on to the notion that if we're seeking pleasure now, that we will lose interest in that area at some point, or that somehow we'll satisfy that itch. And having satisfied the itch, but of course in dealing with an itch, actually literally, we know it doesn't work that way, right? Because you can't satisfy it. Right. You can scratch it until it's raw and bleeding, and then you have to allow it to heal, which is the hardest thing in the world to do, because you still want to scratch it, but you know that you can't. Because you have blood on your fingers when you do. And somebody looks at you and says, "What in the world are you doing?" Yes? And it's the same. We just take all of these things inside of us. And that urge to scratch is still there. And as soon as we have the opportunity, we do it. And if we stay in that vein, which most of us do in this birth, only through grace have we come to a different place. Grace and hard work. And the ability to work is grace. And the ability to receive a teaching is grace. The ability to exert, and stop scratching it and learn to replace that with something different, something beneficial, to learn to have practices that can help to change these tendencies. Without that, it just gets worse. And so death then is a release, but only temporarily. Because last thought, the perfect girl, which I didn't get in this birth, the perfect experience, the perfect car, the right amount of money, the right amount of recognition. I got my name on the hospital, but I wasn't able to be around to enjoy it enough. The stuff. And so he's reminding us, right? For all of us, he's reminding us that there's no satisfaction for it, and there's no ultimately satisfaction. There's no ultimate being satisfied. There's only one way. And so here he's pointing to that. He's saying the altar of truth demands the oblations of mental rigidity, harshness, self-assertion, eccentricity, and egoism. So we have to offer those up, all of our eccentric ideas, all of our rigidity about my way, not your way, my way or the highway, right? And we can be free of it a little bit or not have it a little bit, but still it's here. Still it's here. Look at it. Look at it. For God's sakes, look at it. When we get upset with someone inside, what is that? What's happening?
I need more.
Yeah. It's so persistent, and we're needing to see that. And the altar of truth demands the oblation. We may know what oblation is for joining us. In the fire, in the Homa fire, the sacred fire, where we burn the karmas. That's the intention and the symbolism of it. We pour on whatever it is we're burning. We pour ghee in order to make the fire hotter, and that's the oblation, right? So here, in order to be free, we're pouring these desires, these limited thoughts, all of this I, me, mine stuff, we're pouring that out into the fire. That's the visual that he's sharing. And you can do it, for everyone, you can do it if and only if you see how important it is, and it is your number one. And then you can do it. Otherwise, if you delight in coming up with ways to hide from the work, then you can hide from the work. So, train yourself for that truth which knows no partiality, no sex, no wandering gleam, O man. There's a stain of error in daily experiences of the human. That is why her life is defaced and disfigured. People, humans, have become vinegar for each other's eyes by their wrong thoughts, only by their wrong thoughts. So, the ice of ill will is chilling their heart. And what we see is in time, it's not just in one birth. This is what science observes, that in a closed system, this is one of the laws of hydrodynamics. In a closed system, the objects in the system tend towards more disorder. And so you don't just see it in the human being, in their mind, you see it in society. And that's why we move from one age to another age to another age. And that's why it's so dark outside right now. Because societally, it's the same thing. At some point, there are several people who know the way. And at some other point later on, there are very few. At some point, the ones who don't completely know still have an interest in knowing. Mm-hmm. At some other point, they don't really care. They're wrapped up in sexual pleasures and everything else. And you just have to look at the Roman Catholic Church and the yoga lineages, the great yoga lineages that have been ruined, and Southern Baptist Church was the latest one, hundreds of ministers and such that put their own pleasure ahead of the light. And that shows the priority. And this is not judgmental. This is the time that we're in. So the thinking has become more and more perverted. Perverted meaning backwards. And so it's actually not that hard. And look at Maya. Look at how someone was saying how thick it is of this time. It's not that hard to realize that pleasure will not give you happiness, not lasting happiness, because we can actually see it. If we just stop from ourselves for a moment, we can see, I got the pleasure, but it couldn't last. Yes? And for everyone joining us, you see the same, right? I got the pleasure, but it couldn't last. And how many of us are satisfied with having happiness every now and then? Even in meditation, Hari, you see it. You want to meditate all the time. That's an urge, isn't it? And you have to fight to not satisfy that urge. Because you also know when you're awake that can't work. That can't do it. Yeah? You know that it won't be long before there's no food for the body. You know that it won't be long before you're out in the cold and you have no shelter. Yes? So you know that whatever is the pleasure, even if it's a spiritual pleasure, that it will not give you full and complete satisfaction. And we should all be able to know it. But what Maya does within us is it hides that fact from us. And we ignore it. And we pretend like it's not true. And we continue to say, well, this feels good, so I'll do this. And we've forgotten about our welfare. We've forgotten about freedom. And this is how thick this Maya is in this time. The only way is to come to the truth and to abide in the truth. I am soul. And you can know it. But you see, you have to get to where you know it every moment, in every state, in every mental experience. Yes? Because when you know it, there's satisfaction. What happens, it's okay. But then the next moment, you've forgotten. And now that urge is there, and now I have to sit and do this.
Yeah, this is why I was so impressed with Peace Building.
Yes.
Her last night.
Yes, yes. She broke through.
Yes, she broke through. As long as do you happen to know what, did she write anything about the 15 years that she had to go through? She shared in discussions. We know a little bit about it, but it's really just karma yoga. It's karma yoga. It's 15 years of karma yoga. She worked with the Quakers. So she engaged in several peace projects and like this. And so her hopes were dashed several times. She learned what was needed to be learned. She learned that there's even working for the cause of peace is not satisfactory. She learned to go deeper, and she was continually guided to go deeper and deeper and let go of what she was holding on to. When she says preparation, what is preparation other than renunciation? And tell me, what is it? Yeah, I mean, Paul,
so you say purification, but what is purification?
Yeah, it's interesting because Paul in the New Testament wrote that it took him 11 or 12 years before he finally went out and started to do this. Yeah. And in Ram, I thought of the Ramayana as we were watching Ramayana last night, being in the forest for 12 years, 14 years, whatever it was. Yeah, it's like a blooming pure.
Right. But it's not about time. It's about the flowering of the commitment.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? When you plant the seed and water it, and you say, this is the only seed I'm planting, and this is the only seed I'm watering, which is devotion, which is sincere commitment to God. And that's the common denominator. Or in the Buddha's case, Buddha 8 years. Commitment. Commitment. If it's one word, it's commitment. And that's what, if you're to offer these desires, and it's not just the desires, it's everything related to it, the expectations, the judgments, the falsehoods that we hold on to because they're pleasing. And the idea of letting go of them brings great fear and anxiety. You know what we're talking about there, right? That even though you know that they're false, they assert so strongly, and you want to find some compromise with them. Because when you choose to go against them or to not follow them, they assert and bring great pain. Yeah. And so the commitment has to be strong enough to see it through all of that. One truly has to be committed enough to die, to accept death, physical death. And what you get in return is the only death that there can be, which is death of the feeling of separation, death of the ego sense. That's why Swami Sivananda says, kill that ego. Because really the body can't die, the person can't die, right? It can appear to. And there can be the death throes and the pains and all of this related to. But then, once that's done, it's like, okay, I'm not dead. And then, how did I do? Well, not so well. Darn it, I have to do this again. So, and these are the things, the ill will chilling the heart, the ties that we've wrapped up inside between us, the knots in the relationships, but also the way we've tied ourselves to the various attachments, which ultimately aren't about things, they're ultimately about notions and ideas. And freedom requires us to be completely wide open. I say naked, completely naked. Naked of what? Naked of any self-serving interest whatsoever. I am that universal, but in order to really know it and live it, then I've got to let go of all the stuff. And our life is like a pilgrimage, and it'll show us, but it takes the commitment. Absolute commitment and willingness to die. We were talking, Krishnadas asked a question the evening before last. And it was such a good question. He was talking about the physical pains and all of this. And the answer that came, I can't take any credit for it, but it was so lovely, because the question is, well, pain will come. It's a natural part of the human experience. Pain will come. And you can see a relationship between actions and pain. And so what actions are worth the pain? And what actions are not worth the pain? Right? And so look at that and say, all right, the ones that are worth the pain, I'll take the pain, and it'll go. At some point, I'll leave this body anyway. And so it'll go. But the question is, did I live a good life? Was I of benefit? To who? To myself? No. Was I a benefit to humanity? Was I? Yeah, right. What did I bring? What did I bring? And there will be pain for whatever you bring, because nothing's easy, but the wise person makes an island which no flood can overwhelm. And that's done with will. The scent of flowers does not travel against the wind, but the odor of a wise man travels against the wind. She pervades every place by her thoughts. She is like a snowy mountain which can be seen from afar. O human, if you fill your lamp with water, you will not be able to dispel the darkness. Feed your lamp with the oil of right thoughts. Let the right views become the torch to light your way. Do not seek to gratify your vanity and self-seeking pride. On the brink of truth, the person is miserably dying. All evil thoughts are embodied in bad physiognomies. But there is nothing to despair, because there is never darkness without light. There is always a sublime answer to every human need. All things are possible to those who believe in the possibility. O man, raise your sight to right direction and use right laws. Set in motion positive thoughts. Remember your objective. It is easy to be diverted into an excursion into side tracks. A holy thought is a voice. It speaks when the tongue is silent. A struggle, it struggles and comes out of all obstruction serenely, and no power on the earth can suppress it for a long period. So regardless of what happens, even in this darkness, it remains. Yeah. Be true. It remains. Yeah. That's the example. Have compassion. Accept the one who's struggling. Do not try to embrace happiness in 1,000 ways. The faster you will follow it, the swifter it will fly from you. There's a beautiful talk from Swami Vivekananda, and for those joining, I'll actually post the link to this little book called Jnana Yoga. I think the name is just on the spine. It's there. This is an old leather bound. But they have them. They're on Amazon. I think they're $7. And it's the best $7 investment ever. Everyone who has an interest in truth should have a copy. These are the discourses of Swami Vivekananda 100 years ago, the ones given in Europe. He gives 3 amazing ones on Maya. And he speaks to this, how it is that Maya works. The fact that we're even trying to embrace this happiness. And he says in one of the talks, he says that as we strive to find more happiness in the outer world, through crafting, creating, enabling pursuits of pleasures, ways to avoid pain, etc. As we bring more happiness, he says it is true that we bring more happiness, but in equal portions, we bring more pain and unhappiness and suffering in equal portions. So if today there are 3 grams of pain and 1/2 a gram of happiness, which seems like a metric, then that relationship will remain. And so we can have 1 gram of happiness, but we'll get 6 grams of suffering. And he gives the example. He talks of the person living in the cave in ancient times. He said in that time, the only pain, the only suffering was a physical suffering. When he or she didn't get food, or when one of the animals that was about bit them and caused pain, or there was an accident or a broken bone, only physical pain. Emotional pain knew nothing about. But here the modern man in pursuit of happiness through intercourse, and we can say intercourse in talking with people and dealing with and creating and building and all of this, or we could say sexual intercourse, or however we want to relate to it, then look at how much more pain there is. Yeah? Now, he would say, all you have to do is look at someone in a way that they don't like, and they experience great pain. Yes? So it is true that we use this human capacity in order to bring more pleasures into the world. It is true. It is true that we don't have to wash our dishes now. We can put them in a machine and we have this additional leisure time. But what do we do with it? We fill it with more pain and suffering. Yes? And so holy thought. Change the direction of your thoughts. Scrutinize your thoughts. Where necessity ends, curiosity begins. No sooner you are supplied with everything than you sit down and entertain the thoughts of artificial appetites. That's what we were just talking about. The robots are coming, and artificial intelligence is coming. And many will say, oh, I'm going to get so much more time from that. You know, life now is such a drudgery. I have to do this, I have to do that, and all these people I have to meet, and oh my God, nobody understands me. I have such a difficult life. And in And in the ashram, Swami doesn't understand me. How many times do I hear this? Swami doesn't understand me. He doesn't get me. You know, I'm good most of the time. I don't understand why I'm not given a break. I'm being worked to the bone here. I don't have time for meditation. I'm not sleeping enough. It's not different. Just different things we're complaining about. The mind is complaining about. And these thoughts are all cancer. Every single one of them, they're cancer. So change the direction of your thoughts. And here, the point, no sooner are you supplied with everything. Now you get everything. Okay, this is what I wanted. This is where I wanted to be. Then you sit down and entertain the thoughts of artificial appetite. So you develop something else to go pursue. Something else to get. Something else you don't have that you need. By your own thoughts, you make or mar your world. Inevitable law of reaction is such, oh man, that whatever you will harbor in the inmost chamber of your heart will shape itself in your outward life. Chance seems to form the surface of reality. So it seems random. Chance seems to form the surface of reality. But deep down, thought forces are at work. Nothing in this universe and in daily behavior is merely accidental. So improve your thoughts, he says. Real action is in silent moments. Purified thought revives the entire manner of life. It tells the person quietly, you have done thus, but it were better done some other way. The thoughts you entertain during the time of reflection, let them not become inaudible when you are engrossed in daily duties. Arm yourself with the sublime thought. So Mona asked the question in departing yesterday, and she'd asked Hari, Shivadas, Gopala, I think she asked each of you for input on this, what to do, because she has 10 hours a day she works. And she has time in the morning for sadhana, and she has time in the evening for sadhana, and this is the approach we'll take. But the 10 hours is for sadhana. And what we discussed yesterday is that's the real practice time. That's when you have to work on bringing beneficial thoughts, being a well-wisher, dedicating your actions, taking a moment to talk to God and say, I am doing this for you, dear Lord, or asking for assistance. Please, dear Lord, help me not to be angry with this person. That's the real sadhana.
Right.
That's the real practice.
But the other practices will support that one.
It supports it, or it supports the ego.
But it takes prana to bring yourself into this kind of thoughts. If you do pranayama, for example, you will have more.
It still will come down to which direction you wish to go. So, and yes, it's true what you say, Hari. If the intention is there, and if you can have regularity, and if you can listen to that time in the world as being sadhana time also, if you can hear it,
Right.
and if you can resolve to practice it, then you're good to go.
Right.
Then you're good to go. And then you have what Swami Sivananda describes. Start the day with God, end the day with God, fill the day with God. So you start the day intentionally, you end the day intentionally connecting,
Yes.
and you remember to fill the day and make those connections through the day.
Right.
And then life becomes freedom, a flow towards freedom at that point. Yeah, it's true. Oh, would you say yes? But it's also very easy to adopt the attitude that my life is a drudgery. I need more time for sadhana because I have to work 10 hours a day. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. And now, with that attitude, what you're calling sadhana in the morning and in the evening is feeding the ego only.
Right.
Does that make sense?
So,
Okay, that's where the difference is. Because now you're creating a world where there's still disharmony and there's still unhappiness because I'm not being given the opportunity that I need in order to be happy.
Right. And that becomes the background.
And that becomes the background, and now same thing, different story. Right, same thing. Okay. Oh, that's the point. So both are correct. It's not again, we think it's the practice. That's the objective mind saying practice. It's not the practice. The issue isn't the practice. The issue is the commitment. So the spiritual work, of course, is a work on what we're holding inside to release. Oh, okay. Just a little bit more, and then we'll close this and summarize in the morning. Thought power, practical idealism. He says, become a staunch believer in self-reliance and self-effort. You can determine your fate by force of thoughts. As clouds are the main source of rain, so control of one's own thoughts is the source of durable prosperity, meaningful prosperity. Not money, yes, but real prosperity. You are yourself your own friend or enemy. If you will not save yourself by cherishing good thoughts, there's no other remedy. Mind is the only creator. Everything is created through the mind. It's absolutely free in creating a world for itself. Whenever the mind is referred to as the creator of external objects, it must be considered as the cosmic mind and part of Ishvara Srishti. Whenever the mind is referred to in relation to psychological functions such as love and hatred, etc., it must be considered as the individual mind and as part of Jiva Srishti. Oh man, the real God lives in your heart, and the only way to worship the real God residing within the temple of your body is by your own sublime thoughts. Stop the psychological functions of your mind and see value only in sublime thoughts. In other words, let the world be what it is. The world is cosmic mind. Let it be what it is. Focus on your own individual mind, your own individual way of thinking and acting and reacting like this. And of course, what we observe through doing that is the interrelationship between individual mind and cosmic mind. Because the more we're able to change our own way of thinking and relating and dealing and our own motives, purify our own motives and relinquish the attachments that we're having and the bad feelings and all of that, the more we're able to do, then the more the world seems to change.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll close for the morning. Hari, please check. Yeah, thank you. Shivadas, any comment or question on?
No, just very appreciative of Peace Pilgrim. Watching that last night was so beautiful. So,
yeah.
We'll watch it again.
Good. She embodies thought power, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. And enough of... when her sister talked, and Helene, so I had a goal for the walk, which was the coast to coast walk. Again, I didn't know that there would be more walking after the coast to coast. And there was a date, and it was September 23rd. There was a celebration for Peace Pilgrim in Egg Harbor, New Jersey, at Peace Pilgrim Park. And my intention was to get to the East Coast to be there for that. Now, that was 10 months down the road from when I started. So I started January 1st. And whenever that idea would come, you know, I realized, well, I'm likely to die before then. So I don't, now I knew I didn't die, but I was committed to do it. But all of the possible things that could happen, that could prevent it, you know. And my commitment was, well, physical death would really be the only thing that would really stop it, because short of that, I would I would continue. And I knew that was the goal, and we got there, of course. And so Helene was there. Helene was 98 at the time. And Helene left the body 2 years ago at 103. So she was 98 now, I'm sure, at the time. And there was a 2-mile peace walk as part of the celebration. It was a weekend, and World Peace Day as well that weekend. And so we were able to walk hand in hand for a mile of the 2 miles, which was just amazing. And we were able to visit some, and you got it in the documentary. She said to me, she said, I never knew Peace Pilgrim. I knew Mildred. Do you catch the difference? And she talked a little bit in the documentary, and you got a little of that. She said, she liked meat, and, she was a good person, but she certainly had her strong opinions, and there were people she didn't like, and all of this. And then she loved everyone, she said, and she ate meat and became a vegetarian, and like this. And so, speaking of that transformation, right? And that transformation which comes through the employment of thought power, and transforming the thoughts and transforming oneself from the thoughts. And so she said, I never knew Peace Pilgrim. She said, I only came to know Peace Pilgrim after she died, is what she said, but she didn't relate to her as dying. She didn't relate to her as being gone. That was just a convenient word that she used. And she said after she left the body that people started reaching out to her, reaching out to Helene. Some people, so only in the first year in her coast to coast did she stop in Egg Harbor. And what she found is as people would talk to her and ask her questions, people are most interested in the story, not in the teaching. And so in order to get to the teaching, she would not share the story. And as a result, she cut off all of the family and friendships and all of that with love, of course. She stopped talking with them and realized I have to focus on this only. And I can't because if people see me here, see me with you, they'll just want to talk about that. So she went to Egg Harbor. She was with the family in Christmas 1953. But then she told them, I can't come here again. And she never went there again. But enough people were able to make the connection that they figured it out. And so they reached out and started talking with Helene. And that's when Helene got to know Peace Pilgrim. And so it was then that she heard from people about how they were transformed and what she had been sharing and all of that. And at that point, it became important to Helene to support that. So she started, she learned whatever she could, and then she was in the midst of her transformation herself. And she went off to schools and started engaging with the schools, talking about Peace Pilgrim and Peace Pilgrim's teachings. And she would visit the local elementaries and like that. It's a Guru Parampara. And so she got it when she said she was like this and then like this. She saw that transformation, and that's the mark. Okay, we'll close. Final Prayers and Arati, page 174, the short version. And for those joining us, I will post the link to Jnana Yoga here in this discussion. I'll post the link for the Peace Pilgrim documentary in this discussion. And then tomorrow, after our discussion, I'll post the link for the document on the 15 techniques of transformation, thought transformation. So transforming oneself. Hari, any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. All right, let's close. Page 174. Om Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Rukmeva Bandhanan Mritor Mukshiyamamritata Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Rukmeva Bandhanan Mritor Mukshiyamamritata Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Rukmeva Bandhanan Mritor Mukshiyamamritata Om Shānti Shānti Shāntihi. O adorable Lord of mercy and love, let us abide in thee forever and ever. Humble Sri Swami Sivananda Saraswati ki, for all the saints and sages of all the traditions.